we were in a situation where if you do win, you got to play Buffalo again anyways.
Yeah.
Who would bet any amount of money that you could beat Buffalo twice? Anyone, even in the league. Like, oh, you got to play Buffalo twice? Like, I wouldn't even bet Baltimore could do that.
Yeah.
Let alone 49ers. So some of us saying, like, should we just lose? And I go, no, I want the division. I want the home game. And I want the thought of winning the home game and then hosting the Browns or Jags in the second round or Kansas City or whatever it is. Either way, it's not going to be an easy path because whatever. So I was like, why would you? Oh, well, the Chiefs is it easier to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City or to beat the Bills twice?
Yeah.
That's a fun argument.
Yeah,
you could argue that, and I would right now say, yeah, probably. It's so crazy to say that it would be easier to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City than beat the Bills twice. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, would you feel shittier if you had beaten the Bills on Sunday and then this Saturday the Bills beat you at home again? What would feel shittier? Or would you feel shittier going to Kansas City and losing, and you're like, yeah, well, we were supposed to lose.
Yeah.
You know, we're supposed to lose in Kansas City.
Yeah, but it feels like more of a downfall if you lose this week. Like if you get the 2 seed in a home game, it's just like, all right, we'll be back next year.
But very shitty if you lose.
Yeah, but I would say it's a shittier feeling to lose in Kansas City this week than
no, because we don't expect to win this week. We're underdog. Like it's just like. Now we're like,
it seems like a massive downfall at the end of the year.
Yeah.
If you still get the 2 seed, if you get the 2 seed and then lose a very close game with the Bills, it's a different feeling going into the offseason.
Yeah, so you're agreeing with that. The Buffalo loss is the worst feeling. The Kansas City loss doesn't affect us at all. We losing to Buffalo was it. That was the feeling of the loss. So if we even beat Buffalo, you're excited, but then you lose to Buffalo, that taste would hurt even more than like, well, the season's over to us anyways. Now we go to Kansas City. If you win, oh, wow. But, like, we don't expect it.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't care to wake up Saturday, watch the game, and we lose. You're like, yeah, we were supposed to. Whereas, oh, if I did beat Buffalo, you get the home game. That's exciting. We won the division. We took it from them. But then just the next week, Buffalo beats us at home again, and you're like, well, what was that fucking for? You fucking losers. You can't.
I'd still think I'd rather just get the 2 seed.
I agree. I that's what I thought I wanted. I agree. But I will say
you can still
that
beat Kansas City, dude. I mean, it's not.
I know that, but then you go to Baltimore. So what's the point? So what's the goddamn point? The road to the Super Bowl is to beat 3 teams that you lost to in the season. That's what's crazy. You would have to beat Kansas City, who you lost to in Germany. Then in the second round, you would have to play Baltimore, who you lost in Baltimore. And then in the third round, you would assume you would have to go to Buffalo to play Buffalo. So you're saying you're going to win all 3 games that you lost? No. Yeah. So my whole thing is the expectations are gone, so I don't really care if I lose. Like, I'm not one of the Dolphin fans who's like, I know everybody keeps saying this to me. They're like, everybody's like, well, Kansas City does not look good. That's fine. But I understand what's ahead of Kansas City.
Yeah.
I was more excited that if we did have a home game, I thought that I didn't want to play Buffalo regardless. I just didn't want to play them. Yeah. I wanted the Jags to fucking win. And then we beat the Bills, and the Bills are out. And then we're hosting the first game against the Steelers. And the second round, we're hosting the Browns. And the third round, we lose to the Baltimore Ravens. But, wow, we won 2 playoff games. Yeah. What a great second year for a team that has experience now. But now here we are in one of the – I'm not going to say biggest collapse. I mean, there's been bigger Miami Dolphins December collapses. I'm not going to say it's a collapse because you lost to the 2 best teams in the AFC. So that's why they're the 2 best teams. We lost to Baltimore. That's why they're 1 seed. Yeah. And we lost to the Bills, and that's why they're the 2nd seed. So what you are is that, hey, you're a team. You're a playoff team. And going into next year, and I said this last year, I go, oh, cool. You lost to Buffalo. Tua was hurt. We got to roll it back with Tua. You're still a playoff team, and we were a playoff team. And now going next year, you got to run it back. There's nothing you can do. Yeah. You're going to bring Kirk Cousins in. First of all, Kirk Cousins is going somewhere where he's going to play for 5 years. Whoever takes Kirk Cousins is taking him. So there's not a better option than Tua. So I'm one person who was like, oh, it's finally, I've seen enough from Tua where I'm not giving him a $200 million contract. I'm not giving a Justin Herbert contract. I go, because I'm sitting here and you can't tell me that if Justin Herbert was on the Dolphins, that this is the same team.
I agree with you.
I don't know. I mean, I don't.
No,
I
Justin
know
Herbert is better than.
Someone said no. Well, McDaniel built this team around Tua's skill set. Okay, well then he can build. Then you're saying McDaniel can build a fucking team around any quarterback. Then that's what you're saying.
Exactly.
So then shut up with that argument of like, are you kidding me? This offense was built around what Tua can do with his anticipation and his accuracy. Well then, if McDaniel is that good of a genius, then he can take the skill set of any quarterback and build an offense around that.
A guy that can scramble like that can only help, and he throws the ball better. And accuracy, terrible pick at the end.
That was the breakdown of that was a real. I'm not excusing Tua, but it's a Claypool route, disgusting run is what you don't see in live audience. But when you're watching the breakdown of people breaking down your feelings, you're like, oh, he runs it like for the people on camera, he goes like this.
Instead of cutting?
Like a cut. It's just not a cut. And I don't know what Claypool's flaws are, but it's just like you're doing a candy cane. Like when you're supposed to do this. Like you could tell he threw the ball where he's used to Tyreek and Waddle doing it.
Yeah.
And he did this thing and the guy undercuts Claypool. Yeah. So that's fine.
No,
but like
that's
fine. But like know that.
Yeah.
And to a no, you're like dealing with this guy. You practice with him. So then then we know Claypool doesn't run that route. Like, why would he nonchalant all of a sudden? He clearly isn't good at running routes and from the previous play, but he was overthrowing some of the balls in the game. It's not that he's not accurate. He is accurate because we saw it all year. It's for something about him looking nervous in big moments.
Yeah. It
looks like he's a little flustered, and part of me thinks that this year was all about proving that he would stay healthy. And you did it. You stayed healthy. You played all 17, and you're going to play 18 games, and you proved everyone wrong, and you didn't get hurt, and durability isn't an issue now. So get that past you. But you got to have confidence. He's not good at improvising. And improvising is very important. When your play breaks down and the first read's not there, where are you going to go next? When you scramble, can you make a play? And that was something that hurt us. And it's not about the last drive. Sure, we had time, and we could have probably got a touchdown and tied it. You got to go for 2 there anyways, because if you went to overtime, Buffalo was going to win regardless. But you have to have a guy that can just make plays and win the game like Allen. Like Allen, literally, if people are going to shit on this guy has had 3 turnovers, I think, in like every single game this year, but yet won 5 in a row. Do you know how good you have to be to win a game when you've turned the ball over 3 times? And by the way, 2 of his interceptions were in the end zone.
Yeah.
This game easily could have been 28-7.
Yeah.
It could have been the other way around.
You're right.
So, and the defense played great for the most part with a depleted defense. They did what they could long enough. And the offense, what was supposed to be this thing all year, and they still finished number 1 in offense. But you're telling me that you can't do that with someone else. And I'm not saying that there is someone else. I understand that. I've looked at the league. I look at what's going on. There's nothing we can do. So there's nothing that a lot of teams can do, right? If you're the Steelers, if you're the Raiders, if you're the Broncos, those are teams that can upgrade at quarterback, right? And they can make adjustments. Then there's a bunch of teams who are like, well, they got to roll with what they got or draft someone and hope they get better. And they sit them behind a guy like what Green Bay did with Love. And then there's guys who have the guys that they go, well, this guy can win a Super Bowl. And we all expect to see win a Super Bowl as a fan base. Yeah. And that's Josh Allen, which, listen, we thought Phillip Rivers would win one. We don't know. But we talked about this last year on the podcast. We said, hey, man, there's only room for 3 good quarterbacks in each league. And that's a fact. There's only room for 3 of them that can dominate the league, and the others are just going to, unfortunately, have a great career and possibly be Hall of Famers, but not win a championship. Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer, never won a Super Bowl, all right? Someone is going to be a Phillip Rivers, and that's either Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Herbert, or Lamar. Because right now there's 4 guys in the AFC that you say, these guys are consistently going to be there. And I will say, I will take Herbert away and be like, let's see what happens one more year.
It's for sure going to be Herbert. It's going to be Phillip Rivers for sure. You just don't see
maybe,
the Chargers.
But we got to see
Bowl.
if he regresses next year. Then you're like, what's going on? There was a little regression on his end, sure, but we know Burrow. Someone could be like, well, but Burrow's now missed more games than Tua or anyone else now.
Yeah.
So, but I think Burrow will be fine. And I've seen, like, he's for sure great. We know Mahomes is already a Hall of Famer. And now Lamar has made a great case to have a Hall of Fame career with 2 MVPs.
2 MVPs, yeah.
He's got to win playoff games, though. You can't just win MVPs. You can, kind of, but you got to win playoff games.
2 MVPs, though.
2 MVP helps, but I don't think it secures you. I mean, like, I don't know. It would be interesting to see if Steve McNair's in the Hall of Fame yet.
Oh, yeah. Well,
but he won playoff games.
Might be graded on a curve because he passed, too. You could I feel like they're more likely to put a guy in the Hall of Fame if he's...
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame yet, but he went to a Super Bowl and has 1 MVP. So the point is, do you want to... You can't replace him. Thankfully, now, hey, how about this? A callback to last year. We're in a way better situation than the Giants because we fucking picked up his 5th-year option and didn't pay him. So now we get to go, hey, Tua, you have a prove-it year. We draft a guy, and he's sitting behind you to put pressure on you. Someone made a very important stat to me, and I didn't know if this is true. I didn't check him on it, but he asked me, what franchise drafted the most quarterbacks from 2000 to 2020?
Dolphins?
No.
Let me guess. Well, this is Browns?
No. The New England Patriots did.
No.
Yes. And they had Tom Brady the whole time because it's always putting pressure that there's someone there that could steal your job because that's how he got into it.
Wow.
So always never giving him the confidence. Maybe that's a psychological thing. I don't know. I've never heard that story, but it makes a lot of sense.
Wow.
But over that time, they always had a guy. Keep drafting a guy. You never know. So why not start? You have 2 drafts, right? You have this year's draft, and then you have next year's draft after Tua's contract expires. To find a guy that you think can lead your offensive scheme. Yeah. And there's enough draft picks. You have a first rounder, this draft pick. You have a first rounder. And I think this team, on paper, outside of the 49ers, barring any injuries, is very stacked on paper. You run it back. You could add some vets on O-line, but you're not going to change the offense. You're bringing all those wide receivers. You have running backs. Mm-hmm. Your O-line, who didn't have stars, played great this year because of the O-line coach you brought in from San Francisco. You got to use Tua again. You have McDaniel. Defensively, you could add some pieces, but you run it back. Use your draft pick one of these quarterbacks. You have a first rounder. You have a second rounder. There's a deep draft. Pick a quarterback. Pick all these other players, give him a try it out year. Hey, man, he wins big games and they go fucking 14-3 next year and get the 1 seed. Yeah. And then he's an MVP. Then fine. Then cool. You give him the contract. Then you don't have to do that. But right now you have the freedom to now explore. There's no way. He would have to go on the road and win at least 2 road games for us to change our mind. It would have to be crazy. You have to go to Kansas City, which is not going to happen. By the way, this Chiefs game, which we'll get into, whoever wins, it's going to be like a 17-10 game. It's going to be 0 degrees. Yeah. There's not going to be a lot of offense in this game. It's strictly I don't even think Kansas City's played in a game this cold in a while. It's disgustingly cold, and it's going to hurt to even get tackled.
To go back to what you're saying though, Tua staying healthy all year is so big. Like, that's huge. And even, you say if we had Justin Herbert or Kirk Cousins, both those guys got hurt.
Yeah. And but everybody gets – it's hard. Everybody I guess hurt. Mahomes is the only one who hasn't gotten hurt yet.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, draft a quarterback because I think this year we really realized how important backup. You got to have a good backup quarterback.
Yeah, even that guy in Cincinnati, you got to think they're giving him a contract to stay there. Yeah. Why let him leave?
For sure.
Because he showed that he can run the offense like Burrow. Yeah. Regardless, for that sake, unless you think Mike White is good enough to run whatever you got, we haven't seen him play. All we did was see him in the New York, and unfortunately for him, he has injury prones too.
Get a Bo Nix back there.
What?
Draft a Bo Nix or something back there.
Supposedly, Michael Penix Jr. is going in the late first.
Yeah, but I checked that yesterday.
What is that?
He's projected 10th now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you know how the media is and people get people up. But apparently, look, let's assume the Dolphins lose on Saturday. you are now pick 20.
Yeah.
Right? Your pick 19.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know how the picks go because if we're the 6th seed and the 7 seeds lose and 14 teams go and there's 32 draft picks, 18 and 19, 18, or that would be 19 and 20 would be 18, pick 18 would be like the 7 seeds, right?
Yeah, I think
so. Let's say the Dolphins are pick 20.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a quarterback there at 20.
For sure.
That you could take, that could sit there behind Tua and learn the offense.
Yeah, right now CBS's mock draft, they're projected to go 24th and pick Troy Fautanu.
Who's that?
Offensive lineman from Washington.
Okay. Okay, your mock draft, which is fine.